Stoddard fell in this one in the 500 meter event, I should say. So what's going on right there?
I think two things. One, the ice condition is not what they're normally used to. So every Olympic Games, everyone comes in with their coats. It's very warm. The underneath the ice compressors is a specific set temperature. The ice meister is what they call them. They control these elements really well. But with all the new lights, all the Olympic activity and more focus, everything changes. And as a result, this is also Stoddard's, I think, something that she just has seen earlier today. She rushed, right? And that's the one thing the Olympics does is you could be world champion, World Cup champion. When you come to the games, there's just this added layer of both expectation and pressure. And if I was going to simplify, she rushed her pushing, right? She didn't need to attack too early, meaning she didn't need to make that pass. And then she has a little bit of a pattern where she swings her right arm. And when she's in control, she's very fast. She's very explosive. But a little bit too hard of a swing, her upper body shifts, which causes the rotation of the body. And that's exactly what happened. So psychologically, this is a really challenging point, right? Because you've got almost 3 falls back to back to back in the same day. I think this team would have actually medaled at least bronze, maybe silver, and possibly even gold if they had made it to the final. But that's all done, right? They can no longer control those components. So she now has to shift her psychology. She has to reset this going forward. I talked to the head coach right after the competition, and I went up to him. I said, like what happened? Like what's going on? And she didn't even want to skate because she had fallen earlier. They had that kind of what I call the golden horseshoe, where other athletes early in the race also fell, so they were able to kind of advance to that next round. But it's psychologically excruciating, right? To know that you had this incredible opportunity, and when time came and the pressure was there, you either overreacted or you tried basically too hard. And that's exactly what happened to cause her to shift back her body weight onto her heels, and then she went down.
What's fascinating to me about so many winter sports is the conditions aren't necessarily controlled. You can try and control them as much as possible, but the climate in Milan is inherently warmer than maybe a Beijing, which is much colder and much windier. So when you bring up ice conditions, to me, ice is ice. It's cold. It's hard. Ice is ice. But how do the ice conditions contribute so much to the difference between a gold and wiping out?
So the ice conditions are specifically for short track speed skating are really, really, really important. Some athletes skate very well on what we would consider to be soft ice, meaning a little bit warmer temperature. The first thing that I noticed when I walked into the rink this morning was I noticed after they were zamboning the ice, when you see them pouring that kind of hot water as it's dragging across the ice surface and they're shaving underneath, the water was not drying as fast as it normally does. It was just staying wet. So that just signified to me that either if the compressors underneath are actually the right temperature, and those are the metrics that are working, but on top it's not drying. And then in the other part is they pour water in the corners of the ice. Now that just does two things. It does, number one, it helps self-heal the ice. So you see the athletes that are putting their arms down as they go around those corners. That's the highest amount of pressure is at the apex. The water is supposed to help that as the grooves get cut through the ice on each corner. It's almost like a self-healing mechanism by pouring a little bit of that warm water through the corners. And the second part is it helps the athletes grip. So it provides an additional layer of grip as they torque really hard on that right leg. So people always ask, why are they pouring water in the corners? And I think here's the reality about the Olympic Games, right? Is our team trains and lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, that ice arena in Kearns is amazing. It's the fastest ice on earth. It is exceptional ice quality. They have really got it dialed in. Many world records have been broken there for both long track and short track speed skating. But just like you said, the Olympic Games is volatile, right? Italy has the hometown advantage. They've been training on this ice rink. They're used to this soft ice, and perhaps maybe they even want to have this soft ice. And so for athletes, the heavier and more explosive and stronger that you are as an athlete, if you're a power skater like I used to be many years ago, these types of ice conditions are not conducive. Like I wouldn't love these ice conditions. I would still try to get the job done. But at the end of the day, this plays a really big role. So you will typically see lighter athletes or those who are used to skating on these types of ice conditions and do better. They even changed the equipment now. So speed skating, for those that don't know, we skate it in the 17 or 18-inch long blade. It's only a millimeter thick, and there's actually a curve in that blade. There's a rocker like you see in hockey, right? The rounded part, and that curve is bent on the actual blade. And that's allowing the athlete, as they go around and that bent blade comes over at a pressure, and they place pressure on that blade, the bend slightly starts to compress out, but there's still enough to help them curve and whip around that corner. So the ice conditions plays a big role. But at the end of the day, this is what the Olympic Games are about, right? You prepare for the uncertainty. Short track is a masterclass in stoicism, right? Whatever you think that you can prepare for, at some point you have to just disregard the things, for example, the ice conditions. Everyone's skating on the same ice condition. So either you can be sensitive about it, or you can step up and say, I need to adjust, I need to pivot, I need to figure out how I can still perform to my absolute best. One thing I want to note is that this woman right here, who's on the screen, Kristen Santos Griswold, has been battling injuries for the past 12 months, was skating out of her mind, was skating so well, explosive, strong, doing really well. And then she started to have these injuries, which is this thing called this compartment syndrome. So the front part of her calf, I guess there's like this small compartment, like capsule, which fills up and kind of almost like a pump. And it was so excruciating for her. This girl couldn't even do laps about 4 months ago. She wasn't even able to skate. So the fact that she's here, what I saw today of her performing very well, she's skating the best that I've seen her skate in the last year. So she is on track. I think she's got a really good shot at winning a medal in the coming days. But this American team has to reset. I mean, this is a devastating moment. They performed well in the past. They've been able to medal. And as with every fall, right, it's not like sometimes some of the athletes can say, well, next year I'll go to the games. It just doesn't work that way. They got to wait 4 years. And depending on how old you are, that's a lot of internal psychological processing to go if you're just kind of alone thinking about this process. So the inner game is really important, obviously, for the Olympics.
You mentioned that's all I think about is you work your whole life to get to the Olympics. You want to set the best record of you want your best time ever. You want to have your best day, and then the ice conditions get in the way. It's I cannot imagine being able the mental fortitude it takes. I do want to talk to you about a couple of the other skaters. Long track skater Jordan Stolz, obviously a superstar at this point. What makes him special?
Jordan Stolz is the greatest long track speed skater to have skated since 1980, the great Eric Heiden, who did something that no other human thought was possible. Eric Heiden won 5 gold medals in a single Olympic Games. He swept every single distance. That would be like Usain Bolt winning the marathon. While he may look good for the first 25 seconds, most likely he's not going to be there towards the end, right? So this kid is special. Not only does he technically skate with incredible grace and transfer of energy. Speed skating is all about power and energy transfer. It's a lot of in the hip movement. You see them putting their arms in their back sometimes. That's to conserve energy, but it's also all about the body position. And he skates beautifully. On top of that, he's like a genetic specimen. I mean, this kid in the weight room is a freak of nature. Like, he's incredible. And the third thing, the most important thing, is this kid loves to win. He's hungry. He is good enough. He knows the pressure is on. So, look, the curtain is ripped open. The World Championships, the World Cups, the world records that he's broken all year long, they're here, and they provide ancillary ammunition. But now this kid has to go out there and perform. I think he can do it. I was with his parents yesterday at the Winter House here in Milan, spending some time with them. And I asked him, I said, how does Jordan feel? Like, does he feel good? And his mom says, well, he skated the best 800 meters that he's ever skated in his life. So what that means is his top end speed is phenomenal. This is a kid who trains in Milwaukee. Our team trains in Salt Lake City. I think I mentioned that to you. The major difference here is, like the other great skater, Shawnee Davis, also used to train in Milwaukee. What do we know about the Pettit Center's ice? The Pettit Center's ice is a little bit like the ice conditions here. So if you're used to crappy ice conditions, your body has been used to basically training like with a drag suit. Remember when we would see those swimmers and they'd wear those like extra clothing to make it like it's basically just a drag suit? Or you see a track and field athlete wearing like pants that are like baggy. That's really just to create more wind resistance. So this guy has been doing that time in and time out. If Jordan has an average day, he should dominate the 1,000. He should dominate the 1,500. He has to have a good day to win the 500. The mass start is crazy. The Dutch will try to probably play a couple of different games. They may decide to send a couple of skaters, meaning they'll just create the rabbit and the chase type moment to force Jordan to chase them down and maybe waste some energy. And then we've got the men's team pursuit, who as a unit has been special. So technically, this kid could be coming out of these games with at least 3 golds, maybe 5. Now, I don't want to jinx anything. Pressure is real. We got a great picture here from Utah, who skated an incredible race yesterday. That was really breathtaking to be able to hold on to that in the lead. But this kid's special. I like him. He's hungry. He's got that fire, like when we call it like that killer instinct. And it's been a while since I've seen an athlete have that kind of killer instinct, actually since Johnny Davis.
It is so fascinating, the psychological aspect of being Olympian. It's not just the physical gifts you have. It's also, like you said, having that just winning mentality, that killer instinct.
Yeah.
And we also learned that Jordan and his older sister Hannah actually fell in love with the sport from watching you in Vancouver in 2010.
Yeah.
So what is that like for you, that you've inspired this generation of athletes?
It's humbling. It's very humbling. Look, I love the Winter Olympic Games. And Jordan probably felt this as they were going through the opening ceremonies. It's an amazing experience, right? To be able to shift all of the energy from me to we. When you walk in those opening ceremonies, that's the shift. That's this powerful moment where you're like, wow, this feels bigger than me. I thought this was all about what I have to do. And then you've got that beautiful flag that you represent. And there's millions of people back home that you've never met that are cheering for you. So this is not about me. This is their moment. And I'm doing my best to channel whatever manifestation I can so they can have the best and the greatest races of their lives. And this is their moment. This is their special moment. This is when your body will never ask your mind in the middle of chaos or when something goes wrong, hey, like, what do you want to do? No, it's going to default to what you have practiced the most. And so we will see that on race day. Now the pressure's here. Now is when it matters. The mechanics are all the same, right? Same ice rink, same, the ice conditions. They've had multiple different versions of this all over the world in the past 4 years. This is all about putting these pieces together, and I think they can. But for those that have skated because of me, I mean, it's amazing, right? I mean, short track and long track speed skating, these are not big sports in the United States. Like, I grew up wanting to play football. I wanted to be a running back, right? My dad said no. I said, what about boxing? He said, absolutely not. And then he threw me in the water, on the softest stuff on earth, which was swimming. And then I found love with the sport of short track speed skating. And so sport saved me. It changed my life. And for all of these athletes, I just know that it's got so many powerful life lessons that when they leave and they retire, these will be embedded into their DNA for the remainder of their lives. And it's a special moment. So I'm here. I mean, the energy, we just came from short track today. The energy was crazy. It was just I was there, people that had never seen it before. The Italian team obviously won on hometown ice, which was very special. All these things are really, really cool. So it is a different games, right? The energy here is a lot different because of the 6 different venues. And so, the Italians, they like to do things their way. And sometimes not always at the speed that maybe probably we Americans would like to have that precision. But everything has been amazing so far. And the racing and the competition, it makes me feel like, oh, Paula, you got one more? And then I look in the mirror and I remind myself, I don't want to get back in that racing suit. So very, very quick, like a fact check.
Oh, come on. You're thinking about it. Come on. What's the hard, because you mentioned that it's separated out, it's different. What's the key to mental focus and all of this, especially long track? Because we spend so much time watching the broadcast and they're talking about every single lap and your speed in every single lap. And I keep thinking about the self-control you have to know when to push, when to not. What's the key in that? How do you manage the mental fortitude to make sure that you're running the right race for you in each race?
Well, in long track, it depends on when your pair goes. So if there's a really fast time that was posted by another athlete, now you have a target. Now you know what you have to beat. So if you're the last pair to go and you know the lap times that they skated, it's a really great way to know I need to beat that, or I'm able to kind of coast here in this kind of half quarter lap. It gives you a little bit of data to process and assimilate. Now, if you're going early, it's just all about just setting a time that you think no one else in the world can match. The most important thing for any athlete that comes to Olympic Games, because it's so unique, The whole experience is unique. The traveling back and forth from the venues, the ice rinks, all the media, they don't experience this type of thing. They do at a much smaller scale during the World Championships. But when they're here, everything is new. And by the way, nothing goes right at an Olympic Games. I'll give you an example. You'll show up in the greatest shape of your life, ready to skate the greatest race of your life. And all of a sudden, a little bird in your brain will say, oh my God, my hamstring. Did I just tweak my hamstring? Or it'll say like, oh, my throat. Why do I have a little bit of a sniff? Maybe I'm getting sick. Maybe I trained too hard. All these weird things that typically never happen. Oh my God, my equipment. There's something wrong with my skate when there is nothing wrong with your skate. So I call it like these phantom voices that don't really exist. I just think that they're testing your resolve to see if you can do a few things. One, can you maintain the consistency of routine that you've always done, regardless of the importance of the race? So if this is a club race, or this is the World Championships, or this is the big day at the Olympics, your preparation of your warm-up, the mental game that's here, the space between your ears, how you communicate with yourself, how you prepare, and you got to figure out what is the best way that you can get into the zone. So we saw that, right? We saw that with my Seahawks. They got into the zone. They were pretty dominant. They looked very strong. But this is what it comes down to, right? There's always going to be these amazing distractions throughout the entire games. And those that are patient, calm, alert, and dynamic are those that they show up. Breezy Johnson did it in the downhill. Like, people had counted her out. This woman had gone through insane injuries, insane challenges. You have to have this conviction and belief even when the spotlight wasn't on her, right? I always use her as a great example. The spotlight was on the great Lindsey Vonn, and for good reason. Lindsey is just an incredible, savage beast of a competitor. She's amazing. And Breezy has had multiple injuries, but you still as an athlete have to maintain this conviction and this belief that your time will come, that there is a chance that you can win, even when you don't get the spotlight, even when everyone else doesn't believe in you. There's got to be this internal thing. That's why we love sports so much. That's why the games are so special. And so we're getting some glimpses of that here on the ground here in Milan. It's cool. You know, like I was there, I had goosebumps the whole time. I have some of my teammates are here in town from 20 years ago. One of the guys, Rusty Smith, who I've won multiple medals with, he's here with his family, and we're watching. And so this is like a reunion for me. But make no mistake, I want the Americans to win. Like, I deeply want them to win. And there's a part of me that just wants to sit them down sometimes and be like, take a breath. This is your time. Like, don't rush anything.